nervous because I'm here now.
Hey guys, welcome into another episode of 410 Sports Talk. James Haskell along with my co-host Glenn Martin, and we're excited to update you guys on all the events that have been occurring at camp, things that have been happening, things we've been hearing from our insiders and all of our inside information. And so we're going to run down some things that we've been hearing, talk about them, whether we're concerned or not about them, and we'll start at the very top. Glenn, what do you got for us starting off?
Yeah, so I'm going to start with the news of today that I heard, which was a guy I was a big fan of when the Ravens first got him is Jaleel Scott. I had high hopes for him with the size, weight, speed. You know, I always dreams of him high pointing balls in the back of the end zone for the Ravens, but it just never seemed to kind of fall right for him. And today was another frustrating day for him. Apparently, he came very close to making a bunch of plays and one towards the end of practice had him so frustrated that he, wasn't able to make the play that he took his helmet off and threw it into the woods.
Oh man.
Which, look, I'm a fierce competitor too, and not nearly close to the talent of these guys. And I've been to that point where I'm ready to throw something. So I understand that's tough. And then apparently he finally did make a big touchdown or a big long catch, and unfortunately fell on the ball, which that's only happened to me once in my life where I've legitimately fallen on a ball. And let me tell you, it hurts because usually it's your rib cage that's falling on it and knocks the wind out of you, and that ball does not give way at all. So just feel bad for Jaleel. Guy always wanted to, kind of progress enough to eventually make himself into a contributor, but it just doesn't seem like it's falling his way. And this might be his last camp to try and make something more of just himself other than a practice squad guy.
Yeah, Jaleel, if you're watching this, we know you are. Look, put on some weight. Go try out for tight end, dude. Give it a shot because I think it's all you got left, my man. So just saying.
Unfortunately, yeah.
But it is sad. And who knows, maybe if he ends up not being a Raven, he goes on somewhere else and has a really successful career.
Sometimes a change of scenery helps. You never know.
Right, but there's something else that's got is the saying a bee in my bonnet? Remember that old saying or something? It's got a bee in my bonnet, okay? If that's the saying, all right? It's just got I'm getting crotchy.
What year is this?
I'm getting real crotchy about this one, okay?
You mean grouchy?
Crotchy.
Okay, all right.
So apparently Ben Powers, yes, ladies and gentlemen, Ben Powers had 3 bad snaps while at center. I don't understand this. We've seen pictures of obviously Makari. We've heard about Skura.
Yeah, you got to practice today. First
right,
one.
And then they got Ben Powers running at center. Look, ladies and gentlemen, I just want to say we have one All-American center in college on the roster. One. And that is
none of those guys, right?
Right. No, none of them. Bradley Bozeman, I understand that, we want to, for the sake of consistency, this, that, and the other, we want him to stay at left guard. But I think we have, I'm trying to understand this here. Maybe they're doing it under wraps. I don't know, and they're just not letting us see it. But I think we have a person that we can plug and play in at left guard amongst the folks that aren't the starting 5. But I think we're really struggling at center, and Bozeman makes the most sense to me. So, Glenn, help me out here, man. I just get the bee out of my bonnet.
You got a snake in your boots?
That's right.
I mean, it is. So it must be the fact that they don't think Bozeman can do the job. Now, it's interesting that they think he can, and they know he can do the job at left guard, but they clearly don't think he can do it at center, or they just think he excelled at guard and think that moving him to center would weaken 2 positions, I guess, is what – but what interests me is the fact that they're giving Ben Powers snaps at center because, to me, I mean, if you're going to put Powers at – why not why not give Bozeman a shot at center and put Powers at left guard? I mean,
right.
I'm not understanding – now, if you're going to tell me Skura's in there, Makari, we've seen them do it. Now, we would like to maybe see that play and get a little bit better at the centers, but at least we've seen Makari and Skura do it.
Yeah.
Powers, I don't know. I mean, I guess it's good to in camp to take a look at any and all options, but I never thought of Powers as to be a center on this team. That surprised me that he was even getting that many looks, but it doesn't surprise me that his last snap went over the quarterback's head because he's not a center. But I guess you can, at this point, this is the time to experiment with different position changes. But I'd like to see some experimenting with Bozeman as well. I mean, why not put him at center? Because here's the thing. If he can be center, you're bigger and stronger now at center. And now you can work on that left guard, and that can either be a Tyree Phillips, who you just drafted, who's bigger, has long arms, stronger. Maybe a Bredesen, who's, while has shorter arms, is a certified genius and a 4-year starter at Michigan. And, they were pretty darn good offensive line. So I'm a little bit puzzled by it as well, but I guess we'll wait and see, because maybe they're giving Bozeman a lot of looks when the cameras are turned off and no one else is watching.
This is the only thing I will say, too. You brought up Bredesen. I was going to say that it only makes sense to me. If you're giving Ben Powers a shot at center, at least tell me that you're giving Bredesen a chance at center as well, right? Like, I hope for the sake of sanity, that my sanity anyway, that Bredesen, who is, like you said, undeniably the smartest, naturally intellectual person on the team, right? He's a certified genius.
Yeah.
And so why not throw him in at center, give him a shot? Like you said, he's got the shorter arm, so he has some physical limitations, but his mind can make up for those things. We need a guy on the line that's going to be making calls, getting guys in their position. A lot of football players I've talked to said that's the most important job of a center, to identify, to put guys, to make calls, to identify defenses, put guys in position to be successful. They're like the point guard of the offensive line. Let your smartest guy do that. So I hope at least they're trying that as well. But what else you got for us? We won't belabor that anymore.
Yeah, I know you're fired up about that. But here's what's exciting. James Prochet has been showing out in camp, and that did not end today. He was killing the DBs in one-on-one drills. And let's be honest, we might have the best DBs in all of the league. So if he's killing guys like Humphrey and Peters and Jimmy Smith and all these, then he must be, this isn't, Joe Schmo he's out there killing. So the fact that James Prochet is stepping up and looking like he's going to be an early contributor and a guy that you can expect more out of than you can a typical 6th-round pick, that is exciting. And also, look, this guy, if you're going to make you're going to make the team, you can't just be a returner. So the fact that he's showing that he's versatile, he's going to contribute. It looks like he might be able to contribute early on as a receiver, not just a punt or kick returner. Man, that's exciting, man, because they need that possession type, hands type receiver to complement guys like Hollywood. And so, yeah, I'm pumped, man.
Yeah, no, I'm excited about that one too. I'm going to toot my own horn on this one and say that I if you recall correctly, I said that he was going to jump out early over Duvernay in the beginning of the season. Yep. And I'm excited about that. He already, just in the clips I've seen, he looks really polished. I thought he was going to be more raw, but in his route running, he looks really good.
And confident.
Yeah, absolutely right. No, the competitive spirit comes right out. No fear. He's out there to make an impact right away. So that's awesome. The other thing, speaking of excitement, one of my favorite clips on Twitter that resurfaces every once in a while is Orlando Brown absolutely pancaking TJ Watt, because if you guys have been following the channel, I don't like TJ Watt, and his sucker punches on RG3 I thought were pretty lame in week 16. So I love that video, and apparently he's taken more victims that are on his own team. Rookie Justin Metabike, right? Did I get that right?
Yep.
Metabike apparently became close acquaintances with Orlando Brown and was pancaked. So glad to see that little Big O is out there doing his thing. But, glad to see that train is continuing on.
Yeah, and I'm rooting. Obviously, we're rooting for Justin to become a contributor early on as well. He looks to be an explosive guy. But look, Orlando Brown is a big man, and yeah, so he's going to do that to a lot of guys. And Justin is probably like, wow, welcome to the league kind of moment for him. Like, this is the type of size I'm going to be dealing with now.
Yeah, the thing about Orlando that you can't rest for a millisecond, right? Because if you even watch that video with TJ obviously is an incredible pass rusher. But for 1 second, not like he rested, but it was like a mental lapse, and he let Orlando get some leverage. And as soon as you do that and his weight starts moving forward, you're not stopping it.
No. It's just too big. It's just too big.
So he just fell right on top.
Oh, that's gotta be. And you know how they do when they're falling on another player. They dead weight. I mean, you know how it is. You maybe poke an elbow down or something.
Belly flop, dude.
Yeah, you let them feel it.
Oh man.
But also a big year for a guy like Tyus Bowser this year. A year that he has to show he can contribute if he wants to get that second contract, whether it be here or elsewhere. And apparently he's been a big star in camp so far. Now, if you ask him, he hasn't been happy with how he's played because apparently he has a standard that he has yet to meet, and you like to hear that. But from what we're hearing from the reporters and stuff that are able to attend some of the open door portions of the practice, he's looked really good, and I'm excited to hear that because we still don't know who that guy is going to be opposite Judon. That's going to give you that edge pass rush, and he's a guy that can do it. He's obviously shown in flashes that he can do it, but hasn't been able to put it together and been consistent. So it's going to be it's exciting because Tyus Bowser's a guy I was pumped about. I know he has a lot of raw talent. He wasn't able to show a lot of that raw pass rush talent in college because he was asked to cover a lot, and we had high hopes for him. And he had a good rookie year, and then he's kind of petered down since then. So hopefully, Tyus can kind of put it together this year and carry this camp success over into the regular season.
Yeah, we'll absolutely hope for the best, right?
Yeah.
But as far as veterans that, new veteran acquisitions, Calais Campbell and Derek Wolfe, speaking specifically about Derek Wolfe, one of the things I like about his message along with Calais is that they're both expecting this team to be special, this defense to be special. And I think they're doing a good job at holding the team to those standards. He said he has high expectations for the team. John Harbaugh mentioned that he is much better than advertised, which is awesome. I watched some camp videos, as much as the Ravens put up on their website. He's a large man. I mean, we say about a lot of these guys, but my goodness, even next to Calais, I was like, geez, Derek Wolfe has some girth.
He holds his own. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm excited to see him healthy, back and ready to roll. I think people are sleeping on him a little bit. So I'm excited to see what sort of an impact he can have.
And I love when we bring in guys like Derek Wolfe because I feel like Wink does such a great job in cycling guys in and out of games to keep them fresh and to keep them healthy. That a guy like Derek Wolfe is so perfect in this system, and he's gonna just excel in the system because he's not going to be asked to do too much. He's not going to be ran into the ground because Wink is just a master at giving guys the perfect amount of reps to keep them productive and keep them engaged. So I'm excited. But this next news, kind of disappointing, but not very surprising. The team announced that there will be no fans at the stadium for at least the initial part of the season. So exactly what that means, we're not clear yet. But at least in the beginning, there will be no fans at M&T Bank Stadium. Now, they did say that they will be pumping in ambient fan noise. However, that there is a decibel limit that they have to stay under per league rules. And as well as music. They can play music, but it has to stop 15 seconds before the snap. So there's it's not going to be complete dead silence. I'm sure we're going to hear some more hits and we're going to hear some more action from the field than we're used to, but there will be some crowd noise pumped in just to make it more, I guess, normal for the players, I guess.
Right. And NFL, I'm sure you've heard this already, but if you haven't, take note. Look, just allow people to pay extra and provide like a more raw, if you will, experience, like a pay-per-view type style,
like HBO style. Yeah, that'd be awesome.
You know what I mean? Where there's like no commercials or very limited commercials. You get right down on the field all the time. You hear it all the language, all the camaraderie, everything. Right? Like I think that
the league
awesome.
would ever allow, because I don't know if they want the curtain pulled back that far.
I don't know.
I'm sure it gets pretty raw down that field. You know how it is, on the courts where we're from.
Yeah.
It gets raw. There's words said that shouldn't be said, and I'm sure that extends to the NFL field as well. So.
Yeah, the only thing that gives me hope that it could happen is, I mean, they do it in boxing, and like you hear everything that's going on in those ring and the corners and stuff like that, and you said, it gets pretty raw, pretty live.
That's
true.
true.
I can see what you're saying. You get a big group of guys together that are like alphas and
a lot of bleeps, and then if you're gonna leave it uncensored, put the kids to bed.
That's right. No, absolutely. But I think that would be awesome. And then the other thing I just want to mention on that is make sure Seattle gets this letter so they don't artificially pump crowd noise in.
Well, they're gonna, but they got to stay under that decibel level.
Yeah, we'll see about that. So some additional news. And guys, this is in no order. We just kind of took notes and want to talk to you guys about them because these are the things we consider most important. Yep. Justice Hill and Kenyon Barner are both injured. Justice, it's a soft tissue thing. Glenn, we haven't been able to figure out what it is with Kenyon at this point.
Not yet, no.
Right. So the Ravens did work out 4 backs. 2 of them were previous Ravens. And we'll see where it goes from there. 2 roster spots remain in the 80-man camp roster. We have signed a couple guys, though, Glenn. Who did we sign?
Yeah, so they brought in a former fifth-round pick punter Johnny Townsend, just a camp leg, I guess, to give Cook some rest on that kicking leg of his. So I'm sure Johnny will be here very briefly. And then DeAndrew White, a wide receiver return guy out of Alabama. Of course, he's been around the league, I'm thinking, right? I don't have his stats in front of me, but I know I did watch his highlight reel. And I tell you what, he's got some make you miss ability. He's got some run after catch ability, certainly some return ability. It's going to be interesting to see how much of a chance he actually has to make the roster. I think a lot of him coming in is probably due to the Kenyon Barner injury and the fact that they need a guy to return some kicks. But you never do know. I mean, look, he's got a chance now. So if you make some plays, turn some heads, you never know. You could turn yourself into a contributor.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just to give you a little bit of synopsis on his career, I mean, he's been in the league since 2015, played for, we are his 6th stop, but he is a Super Bowl champion of 2000 and, let's see, he's Super Bowl champion of the New England Patriots, and he has 368 return yards, 7 receptions, 93 yards.
Okay. All right. So typically a guy like this is just a camp body, but like I said, you get an opportunity, you turn some heads, you can make the team. So, all right, moving on. Lamar Jackson returned to practice this week. A lot of fans were a little bit not too concerned, but a little concerned knowing that he missed a couple days. And it was kind of funny because I remember listening to the David Culley press conference, the wide receiver coach, and he was asked about Lamar's absence from the first day, and he said it was just a normal day. You know, he's give his arm a little rest, and then he missed the next day, and they said, and then it started. Well, and then they asked John about it. And he said, I don't really want to talk about it, but I'm sure you guys will figure some stuff out. So I don't know if David Culley was ignorant to the true reason or if he was just playing dumb. Right. But either way, the good news is Lamar did have a little bit of groin injury, but he's back to practice, and he looked really, really good again. Didn't look like he had any lingering effects from that little injury. Looked like they were just being safe with him. Yeah,
and I'll tell you what I figured out, and I'm going to knock on wood here. My desk is made of wood, but I figured out why Lamar is so resilient as a player and physically available.
Why is that?
So the Ravens did a bit on know your teammates, who's most likely to. One of the questions was who's most likely to ignore your phone call, and the answer everyone said Lamar Jackson. He even said himself because he was like, "They know I'm sleeping. I'm sleeping all the time. I like to sleep." He loves to sleep. How do you cure the body? No better way to do it than sleep.
Right. That's right.
So, Lamar, just keep doing your thing. Keep sleeping. Keep healing your body up. So, the other thing I'm really excited to mention, too, is, and, man, I'm getting more excited for J.K. Dobbins every day. Obviously, he won my heart over because he's a vegan. But aside from that, he really won my heart over because he is just showing out at camp. Obviously, he's not afraid of anyone. Not that it means anything to anyone, but from a decent source as far as Big Ten goes, some people are starting to think he's better than Ezekiel Elliott. So just hearing that alone is like, whew. So I'm excited about it. You know, he keeps making big plays. I'm interested to see what that balance will be like, how soon he'll take the reins from Mark.
I have a feeling the more and more we're hearing out of camp that won't be very long. I mean, he just seems like the most explosive, quick twitch, and a guy that can do it all. I mean, a guy that I think was criticized because he dropped a couple of balls towards the end of his Ohio State career. But if you look at the totality of his career at Ohio State, he was very good at catching the ball in the backfield. So I think he can do everything, and he's the only back. I mean, Mark can do everything. He just doesn't have home run speed, whereas I think this guy can do it all and has that home run speed to add.
Yeah, and he might even have superior physical gifts, be younger, and have the top end speed, right? Like,
yeah, exactly.
Not saying that Mark doesn't have great physical gifts, but this kid might be an even more rare air, right?
Yeah, and I mean, Mark's still a heck of a good player. He's still one of the top, I'd say, 15 backs in the league. Yeah. I mean, I'd feel very confident with that. And on top of his playing, I mean, he might be our best leader on our team. I mean, him, Calais, there's a couple guys, Lamar, obviously. But as far as vocal leadership, he might be number one on our squad.
All right, really quick though, I have a question for you on this same subject. Mm-hmm. What do you don't have to show your hand here, man, but what are you doing in fantasy if you got a guy like Mark out there? You're not touching him because of JK? Or, how do you value that, the impact of JK Dobbins?
Yeah, I think a running back room like this is pretty scary for fantasy players because you don't know who's going to be sniping away touchdowns inside the red zone. You don't know who's going to be getting the main looks between the 20s. You don't know who's going to be getting a lot of the pass catching out of the backfield as far as PPR goes. And then, of course, you have Lamar, who likes to run the ball quite a bit. So it would be nerve-wracking to have any of these guys on your fantasy team, to have Dobbins, Ingram. I definitely wouldn't have Justice Hill. And if I had Gus, he'd be the last guy on the roster, and I'd be waiting for an injury. But if I had the first two guys, you just don't know who's getting the touchdown.
Right.
I assume they're going to ride the hot hand. But, again, you don't know who that hot hand's going to be until you start giving them the rock. So, yeah, I would steer clear of both of them. That's just me.
Yeah, I tell you what, or you could take Gus at the very end of the draft, wait till week 17. You know he's going to break off for 120 and a touchdown or two when you really need the points, all right? So
yeah, now I'll say this. If you had Dobbins and now Ingram gets hurt, then you just got yourself one of the top backs in the league, because if he was the sole running back in the backfield with Lamar, holy smoke, he'd put up 1,500, I guarantee it.
Jeez, you could even be safe going, if you had to, in a worst-case scenario, going with him and Gus if Mark is out, and you're probably still doing all right. You know what I mean?
Oh, you're definitely. I mean, Gus ran for 750, and Ingram went for over 1,000, so you'd be fine.
She's a whiz. All right, so we'll keep going. We won't make this about fantasy, but what else you got for us, Glenn?
Yeah, so the tight end room has been a big talk going into this camp, and who's going to mainly fill that third spot. And today, a guy made a claim for that. Charles Scarf makes apparently a really nice sideline grab that quote turned some heads on the defensive coaching. So I like hearing that, right? Or no, that's right. He got a head nod. Is that what he got? I can't remember the tweet.
A cap was tipped.
Oh, that's right. Tip of the cap. That's what it was.
Yes.
He got a tip of the cap from one of the coaches.
It's going along with the bee in your bonnet type thing.
Yeah.
You know, same century.
Yeah, so he got a hat tip today, and yeah, I'm excited about Scarp because I feel like he can definitely do the blocking portion, and Coach Harbaugh kind of spoke of his unrecognized his talent as far as pass catching. So, it looks like it's his job to lose. So I like hearing that he's making good grabs and all that stuff, because to me, he's the most logical choice as the third tight end.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. Staying on tight ends, Mark Andrews, I'm sure you guys have seen him, looks phenomenal. I mean, he looks in such great shape. I don't know about you guys, but I like to see the progression between one year and the next. It's really cool to see Hollywood's body transformation, to see him, put on that weight while, maintaining or increasing that speed and explosion. Same thing with Mark. He looks, which is impressive to me, he looks more toned. He looks more fit, lower body fat, like he talked about. Right below the pads, there's no pooch. You know what I mean? There's no pooch. There's no side love anymore. But the other thing to me, he looks really flexible. He made a catch that was in a highlight reel that he was bobbling, went down to his knees, caught it, and then he ended up flipping over. He landed on his helmet and flipped over on his back and everything else. But his body was contorted in a weird way that I feel like, based on his focus on stretching and flexibility, which is also important, made that more possible for him. So all those things are exciting. I mean, this guy is going to, speaking of fantasy, he might be the number one tight end in fantasy this year.
I just saw early projections have him at 3, which is behind Kelsey and Kittle. Pretty darn good company right there, because you're talking about two guys just got paid.
Right, and let us not forget, but he had double the touchdowns of both of those guys last year.
He did. He did. And on a lot less targets.
Yeah.
And then also a big name, Deshaun Elliott. He's got some shoes to fill on the back end. It looks as though right now the Ravens are going to look to Deshaun Elliott to fill Earl Thomas's role on the back end, and he seemed very confident. It did not seem like this was false confidence when I watched his press game or his press conference. He did not seem at all like he was putting on. This seemed like real confidence, a guy that he's shown when he's healthy. I mean, that's the biggest thing, is health.
Right.
I mean, he's had some bad luck, injuries. I know he broke his arm. I can't remember his second-year injury, but when he's in there, the guy flies to the ball, and he's just a magnet for the ball. It just seems to always go his way. I remember looking at his stats when he was drafted. He out of Texas. I think he had 6 picks as a senior. Yeah, that's a lot in college, Yeah. I mean, in college, you don't see a lot of safeties getting 6 picks in a single season. So
right,
that's impressive. And I don't know. I listened to Chuck Clark talk about him. I heard Tony Jefferson talk about him in an interview today. He says he can cover. He says he's a natural free safety. He can play in the box, but he's a natural free, which is what we need. He said he can come up, he can hit. So I'm excited to see. I'm just worried about the one, elephant in the room, and that's health. And I don't think we'll know until he can make it through a full season. So it's a wait and see at this point. But I'm happy that he's confident. The coaches and the teammates around him seem confident as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you as well. And to buffer your statements a little bit, Tony Jefferson was also – there was also a rumor that he was being approached. He was garnering some interest from the Cleveland Browns, and somebody brought that up in Twitter, and they added him, of course, and he said he would never do that.
Wow. And that's saying something because they need safety help in Cleveland with Delpit getting the
going
Achilles
down
injury.
Yeah. But
Wow.
I'll tell you what, I want to bring up one former Raven because there are two spots. Like you said, the injury bug has bitten Elliott a number of times, and so it's still a cause for concern. So is it way too far fetched? Is he way too out of the league for them to give Eric Weddle a call and kick the tires on it and say, hey man, look, we're gonna make a serious run this year. I mean, he's a free, right? Like he feels that he's one of those few people in the room that can do what Earl does. Maybe not to the same extent, but he would be huge back there as a natural free, right?
Yeah, I just wonder what type of athleticism he has left, and that's the key. Is can he? We know his brain. He can do it as far as a mental standpoint, but can his body? You talked about it when you know what you have to do, and your body just can't get it done.
Yeah.
How frustrating that is. I think that we may be there with Eric Weddle to where, I just don't know if he physically can keep up with guys like Tyreek Hill who are going to be screaming over the middle. I mean, nobody can keep up with that guy in particular, but any of these guys you look around the AFC North. There's some receivers out there. I just don't know if he has the athleticism at this point. And the same goes with Tony Jefferson. I know a lot of fans, because Tony's such a great leader and he's a great in-the-box type guy, but we got guys like that. The Ravens have guys that fill that role. What they don't have is a free safety that can play the deep third. That's the issue. So I don't think Eric Weddle fills that. He does from a mental standpoint. I mean, obviously Chuck Clark talked about him. Deshaun Elliott talked about Eric Weddle and what he does as far as being a coach on the field, but I just don't think he's got the athleticism left.
Yeah, and the other thing too, I think my guess he's probably having too much fun with his kids.
Yeah, he's finally getting to be the dad he probably always wanted to be. How many kids? He's got a lot of children.
4
right?
kids, four kids, and they're all relatively young. And his family's a big deal to Eric Weddle. So, yeah, hopefully it's working out for him. But anyway, just saw an article on that and figured it'd be worth talking about. But the other thing, as far as the secondary goes, is I think still not enough is being said about Tavon Young, and things are starting to come out. It's been said that Tavon Young being healthy is like us having another first rounder out there, which is awesome to hear because you talked about this, Glenn, before, is that he allows everyone else to be in their natural positions, right? Yep. That's huge. Not only does he do that, he brings a premium at his position, right? He's arguably, when healthy, the best slot corner, if not absolutely one of the best in the NFL. And that's why we paid him to do so. So I think that's a huge, huge improvement on the back end for the defense, something that's not being talked about a lot and something that has me really excited.
Yeah, I was just reading the article that the Ravens have on their website about him, and kind of interesting to hear about what he went through last year, that he couldn't even – got to the point where he couldn't even put his helmet on. His neck was hurting. And that's what made him go to the trainers, and they determined that he couldn't play anymore last season. But apparently this season he's back. He's feeling good. He's looking quick. And let's just call it what it is. He's the best slot corner we have. You can put Marlon there all you want. He's not as good as him. He's just not as good as him at that role.
Right.
So not only does it allow Marlon to go back to, his natural role where he's way better at on the outside, but it also now so you're increasing 2 positions. You're increasing your outside corner, and now your slot is both getting better to an already great secondary. So, this secondary has a chance to, even with the loss of Earl Thomas, to be even better than they were last year, and they were pretty good last year. A secondary in which was leaned on heavily by their team, by Wink, sending the whole front 7, it seemed like at times, to go get the quarterback and just relying on the guys on the back end to kind of cover up, all their, deficiency from the pass rush is basically, what they were trying to cover up. And so, yeah, I'm excited. because the guy can do a lot. I mean, he's a good blitzer too. People forget Tavon can do a lot more than just cover the slot receiver. I mean, he's a heck of an overall football player.
He goes under the lineman's arms. Remember the okey doke that Ingram gave that guy last year on the catch where he just boop, running at full height. Tavon is already there.
He's just he's tiny, man, but he's got heart and he's a little dog, man.
That's right. That's right. No, absolutely.
And then finally, we have to talk. Earl Marlon will not be going back to number 29, despite Earl leaving and leaving that number behind. I was never a fan of Marlon at 44, but now I'm used to it, so I'm fine with it.
He had arguably his best season at 44, right?
No doubt. I mean, I'm not a fan of the number 44. I don't like it on – I'm trying to think if I'd rather be on offense or defense. I don't like it on either. I just don't like the number 44. I think it's an ugly number, but what do I know? I mean, as long as he plays well, I don't really care. So have at it, Marlon, and I'll be rooting for you in 44.
Yeah, absolutely, just the same. So, we wanted to give you guys a camp update. Let us know if there's anything that we missed. Fill us in on some of the things that you guys, think are important.
And check our first update because we did a first 3-day update, and then this is the following 4 days.
Absolutely. And if you missed the one with Coach Harper talking about Hollywood's physical progression and offseason as personal trainer and speed coach, just had that one. Also, take a second and hit the subscribe button, turn on the notifications, and hit that like button. And we'll be back soon, guys.
See you.